Well, the Web Summit is now in the books. Day 3 is over. 2014 Web Summit is over. News Talk's Jess Kelly, technology expert. What do we have to make of it all? 3 days, countless hours. What stood out for you?
Well, it was a bigger operation than we thought it was going to be. I think everyone was overwhelmed by the size of it. But what really we can take away is that Ireland is on the map when it comes to technology. It's not just Silicon Valley. Dublin matters. We had some great talkers. Peter Thiel just come off stage, as did Bono. But the standout for me, as was last year, was the startup. There's a great sense of energy and a great buzz around the place. We spoke to some fantastic people throughout the days. Unfortunately, one of the big talking points though was the Wi-Fi crash. So just a few hours ago we saw Paddy Cosgrave on stage giving out quite a bit about the lack of Wi-Fi.
He basically threatened that if the problem isn't solved here at the RDS, because he thinks that there's nowhere else in Dublin to actually hold an event of this size, that it won't actually take place and he'll move it elsewhere. And we've already seen that he is expanding into Las Vegas with the Collision event. Do you think there's a real danger there that this event may not actually happen at all next year?
I think there is, because I spoke to the folks behind the RDS network earlier on today, and they were saying that there was just minor blips. They didn't seem to acknowledge the scale of the issue. So I think it is a big communication issue between the RDS and the organisers of the Web Summit. It'd be dreadful for Ireland to lose such an event. Before Paddy went on that rant, he was just talking about the pride of Ireland and talking about having the food summit, and basically, you know, he was going off with all the positives. But unfortunately, when you don't have the internet and a Web Summit, it's a big problem.
Yeah, from speaking myself, yourself, and Raf Diallo, our other reporter here, we spoke to a lot of the speakers who were here and a lot of the people who were attending, just coming along to the conference. Who, as a speaker, were you most impressed with?
Well, I think Peter Thiel this afternoon was very impressive. He spoke quite passionately, and he also answered some kind of awkward questions as well, because he had in the past made comments about Europe's activity as a technology hub. He also talked about the tech bubble. It was just very interesting. I think we learned a lot from it and we take quite a bit away from it.
Okay. Well, from my own perspective, I know Eric Balfour, who of course was just involved in the final closing discussion with Bono about the future of media and music and movies in the digital era. He was a very interesting speaker as well. Adam Richman, of course, Man vs. Food.
Yes.
Very interesting throughout as well. Really cutting edge stuff as well. Rio Ferdinand in Sports Summit. There was a lot of ground was coverage. Do you expect that if it does come back for 2015, will they reduce the size of it? I mean, 26,000 people were across the whole thing, 10 different summits. Of course, we saw the food summit across on a separate campus as well. Is it becoming too big? Do we expect to see the same size? I mean, Paddy seems to think that he wants to go bigger and better every year.
I think the size will have to be considered very carefully, because it was spread out, as you said there, across a few different campuses, and people were not giving out, but just talking about how difficult it was getting from one side to the other. Signage was a big issue as well, so a lot of people didn't know where they were going for the first day or so. So I think if they are going to consider it, they have to think about the planning of it, the location of everything. But overall, I think it was a success. I do feel bad about the Wi-Fi issue, because it is a little bit embarrassing bringing all these tech leaders. A lot of people were sitting in that room looking to live tweet the likes of Peter Thiel and Bono, and they couldn't get online. So unfortunately, it's not completely 100% across the board.
What's the next step then to finish? We've seen so many different companies like Facebook, Google, Twitter, PayPal, Dropbox, all these multinational companies who are all based in Ireland as well. They've all come here. They've talked about the double Irish and stuff like that. They've talked about inward investment into Ireland. One of the atmospheres I've picked up from people on the floor is that they want to see more Irish startups try and reach that level. Is that the next step for the Web Summit, to try and become something of an incubator for Irish enterprises rather than an exhibiting hall for multinationals?
I think that would be a great step. I think we're not doing too badly at the moment, but it would be great to see more success stories. I do think having the likes of Facebook here in Ireland makes Dublin an attractive location for people to come. I think that's why we get some of the big speakers that we had here at the Web Summit today, because of the full power. But it'd be interesting to see what happens for next year.
It remains to be seen. You can stay up to date with all of our highlights from the Web Summit on newstalk.com.